For 2 years, he chiseled through a mountain, alone, with a pickaxe, 8 hours a day, so his sons could go to school. He never asked for help. He never told the government. He just started. This is the story of a father in a village of 5 families. A school 10 kilometers away, through forest and rock. 3 sons who couldn't get there. And the question no one had thought to ask him, until a stranger drove past one morning and saw him swinging the pickaxe alone. His name is Jalandhar Nayak. He lives in Gumsahi, a hilltop village in Odisha, eastern India. In 2016, the village had 5 families. No road, no electricity in most homes. No way down the mountain except a footpath through the forest. The nearest town was called Fulbani. The school was in Fulbani. And his 3 sons, Vidyadhar, Alok, and Rajesh, were old enough to go. The path down was about 10 kilometers. It cut through dense forest, across streams, and over loose rock. In the rainy season, parts of it washed out. In the dry season, the rocks shifted underfoot. His sons made the walk anyway. They stayed in a hostel in town during the school week. They came home on weekends, and every weekend, Jalandhar watched them set out again before dawn. He thought about the path. He thought about what would happen if one of them slipped. He thought about the rains and what the path would look like in 5 years when his youngest son was old enough to walk it alone. And one morning, he picked up a pickaxe. He did not call a meeting. He did not file a request with the district office. He did not ask his neighbors for help. He walked into the hills with a pickaxe, a chisel, and a crowbar, and he began to break the rock. For the first month, no one noticed. He worked from before dawn until early afternoon, then came home, ate, and went out again to sell vegetables in the local market. His wife knew. His sons knew. The other 4 families in Gumsahi knew. They thought he was strange. They did not stop him. After 3 months, the path was wider in places. After 6 months, it began to look like something a bicycle could ride down. After a year, he had cut almost 5 kilometers. He worked alone. He worked in monsoon rain. He worked in summer heat where the air over the rocks shimmered. He wore the same pair of sandals until they fell apart, then replaced them and kept working. His hands developed deep calluses along the inside of his thumbs from gripping the pickaxe handle. The handle itself wore smooth. The blade chipped, and he sharpened it on stone. By the 2nd year, he had cut almost 8 kilometers of road. The village was still 5 families. The school was still in Fulbani. His sons were still walking the old path because the new one was not finished. But it was getting there. And then one morning in January 2018, a stranger drove past on a road below the village and saw something he could not explain. A man, alone on the side of a mountain, swinging a pickaxe at a wall of rock. Not a construction crew. Not a road team. One man. The stranger stopped the car. He walked up the new path, the one Jalandhar had been cutting for 2 years. He reached the top and he found Jalandhar still working. He asked him what he was doing. Jalandhar said he was making a road so his sons could ride bicycles to school. The stranger looked at the road behind him. He looked at the man in front of him. He asked how long he had been doing this. Jalandhar said about 2 years. The stranger asked who was helping him. Jalandhar said no one. The stranger asked the district administration to come and see. The district collector at the time was a woman named Brunda D. She drove up to Gumsahi a few days later. She walked the road Jalandhar had cut. 8 kilometers of broken rock, cleared forest, and packed earth. Carved out by one man with hand tools, working alone, without pay, without permission, without telling anyone he was doing it. She stood at the top of the path and looked back down the mountain. Then she turned to Jalandhar and asked him why he hadn't told the government. He said he didn't want to bother anyone. He said the road was for his sons. He said he could finish it himself in another year or two. The district collector did not finish hearing him out. She returned to her office that day and ordered the road completed by the state. Within weeks, machinery arrived in Gumsahi for the first time in the village's history. The remaining stretch was surfaced. The grade was smoothed where the pickaxe could not go. The road Jalandhar had spent 2 years cutting became a real road, finished by the people whose job it had been to build it in the first place. And then they did something else. The district administration calculated what Jalandhar would have earned over those 2 years under the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the government program meant to pay villagers for exactly this kind of labor. They paid him retroactively. For every day he had walked into the hills with a pickaxe, the government paid him as if he had been one of their workers all along. He had never asked. The reporters came after that. The story moved from the local Odisha papers to national television. Photographers came up the new road and asked him to pose with the pickaxe. He posed. He answered their questions. He did not seem to understand what the fuss was about. When one reporter asked him if he was proud of what he had done, he said his sons could ride bicycles to school now, and that was what he had wanted. When another asked if he would do it again, he said yes, if he had to. The villagers in Gumsahi began calling it Jalandhar's Road. The name stuck. His sons did ride bicycles to school. Bidyadhar, Alok, and Rajesh. The road that had not existed when they were small now ran from their front door down the mountain to Fulbani. They no longer stayed in a hostel during the week. They could come home at night. And on weekends, sometimes, their father still walked up into the hills with the pickaxe. Not because the road needed it anymore, just out of habit. He would check the surface where rain had washed a stone loose. He would clear a branch that had fallen. He would stand for a moment at the top of the road and look down it, and then he would walk back home. The pickaxe is still in his house. The blade is chipped along one edge from striking rock thousands of times. The handle is smooth where his hands gripped it for 2 years. There is a small notch worn into the wood where his thumb used to rest. There are people who change the world by giving speeches. There are people who change it by writing laws, or building companies, or leading movements. And then there are people who change it by walking into the hills before dawn with a pickaxe, alone, because their sons need to get to school. Jalandhar Nayak did not set out to be a hero. He set out to make a road. The fact that the road took 2 years did not change his mind. The fact that no one helped him did not change his mind. The fact that the government should have done it long ago did not change his mind. He had 3 sons. They needed to go to school. The mountain was in the way. So he moved the mountain. 8 kilometers. 1 man. 2 years. A pickaxe, a chisel, and a crowbar. And a quiet refusal to wait for anyone else to do it. Next Tuesday, we're going to tell you about a black businesswoman in Nova Scotia who refused to leave the whites-only section of a movie theater in 1946. She was arrested. She was convicted. She paid the fine and went home. And 70 years later, her face was put on Canada's $10 bill. If you're new here, this channel tells true stories about quiet heroes, the people whose names you don't know, whose decisions changed someone's life forever. New stories every Tuesday. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.